Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work because the battery's gone. Okay.
Down batteries.
Huh?
Down batteries.
Oh well. So, tell me when your parents were born.
My father was born in 1880, November.
John, what's his full name?
John Whitten.
What's his middle name?
Doesn't have one.
John Whitten was born when?
November 11, 1880.
Born November 11th,
1880.
1880. And your mom's name?
Annie Elizabeth Badelier. And she has
Badili.
Badelier.
And born when?
She had a very special birthday. Her birthday was October 3rd, 1884. Or maybe it's Trevor that has a very special birthday.
Wow. So where were they born?
My father was born in Lancashire, England.
Lancashire?
Yeah.
Where's that in England?
On the northwest corner, kind of north, almost to Scotland.
Is it Wales?
No, it's north of Wales.
And where was your mom born?
She was born in Rangoon, Burma.
And what were her parents doing in Burma?
Her father was in business with his uncle. I think they had a distillery.
You think or you know?
Well, I know they talked about having a distillery.
So they made wine or
Beer,
whiskey?
Whiskey or something. I don't know what they made.
They owned it or what?
As far as I know, they owned it. It was their business,
So is that what took them there? They decided to go there and make whiskey?
I have no idea. My mother told me once, and I've never proved it, and I don't know if it's true, that he was in the consular service in French Indochina, and when his service was up, he went to Burma. But I've never proved that, and I don't know if it's true or not.
So what service?
The consular, like he was a French consul and French.
Oh, he was French.
He was French, yeah.
And her mother was English?
English.
Where was he from in France?
Aube. That was the
Aube?
was like a county. What's the name of the town? What was the name of it now? I can get my book and look. But that's the county though in France.
And her mother, she was from where?
Well, she was supposedly born at sea on the way to Australia. And so I think she was...
Why was she going to Australia?
Because her father went to Australia to look after either as a soldier or a policeman over the convicts in Australia.
Yeah.
And she was born at sea, supposedly 3 days out of London, but no one's ever been able to find her birth record. So it's all kind of word of mouth. And Jean has checked as much as she could, never have found a birth for her. And then her father was thrown by a horse and killed in Australia, and we never found his death in Australia.
Huh. So he was what was his position?
He was with the British Army, so I kind of think he must have been a soldier sent to look after the convicts in Australia, to oversee. When the husband died, the wife took the children and went back to India, I guess.
Oh.
And we found her death in India.
So they made it to Australia. He was killed shortly after.
Yeah, a few years. They went to Australia in 1851, and she was born in 1851, my mother's mother.
Okay.
And then he died 5 years later. They don't have the time. And we've hunted for his death in Australia and can't find it yet. Partly because he had a fairly common name and it's hard to...
So why did she go to India rather than back to England?
Well, because I think they come from India.
I thought she was born on a ship out of London.
But it was her mother that took the children. My grandmother was just a child and went back to India because she had older children there, and I think they'd come from India before they went to Australia, see, so they'd been in India.
But your grandmother was born on
a ship on the way to Australia. And so she was a young child, and when the dad died, and then the mother took the children and went back to India because she had older children there. We've got records of my grandmother's older brothers with the commissioner of police or something in Burma, India or something. It's all pretty vague because there's no definite stuff.
So, okay, I'm confused. So they were in England, but they had kids in India?
No, I think they were in India. See, my great-grandmother, Anna O'Connor, went to India with her husband, William Reed, and they were in India.
Okay.
And then somehow he was assigned to go to Australia, William Reed was, and then that's when my grandmother was born on the way there.
Oh, from India to Australia.
Yeah, but she was supposed to have been born 3 days out of London, so maybe they went back to England and sailed from England to Australia.
Oh.
But we don't have proof. I'm wondering myself if maybe they went from India to Australia. And she was born on the way from India to Australia.
So after your grandfather died, they went back to India, and that's where your mother was raised. Her grandmother.
No, my mother was born in Burma, so this is her mother that went to Australia.
All right.
Okay, it does get confusing.
Okay.
So it's
your grandmother.
My grandmother was born at sea on the way to Australia.
All right. Okay.
And her mother was born in Ireland.
So
and went to India, married a soldier and went to India. So they had that history in India.
All right.
Okay. But then my grandmother then, as she grew up, was living in India, and at a young age she went over to Burma to, oh no, that isn't how it was. She was married 3 times. She was married and lost her 2 husbands and ended up in Burma. I don't know how come. And that's when she married my grandfather.
All right.
And he was her 3rd husband.
Okay.
Okay.
And then your mother was born in Burma.
My mother was born in Burma.
All right.
Okay.
So your mother was raised in Burma.
No, she was raised in India.
So she was born in...
Born in Burma. And her father died when she was only about 2 or 3 years old.
So Nan, born in Burma, but raised in India.
Raised in India.
Where in India?
down Pondicherry, southern India.
Pondicherry.
Yeah, they called it cherry, some people, but we always call it Pondicherry.
So
Round
they're
about that, I think that's where she kind of grew up, is in the Pondicherry area.
And her dad died when she's like 3?
Yeah. In some place we've got a letter, some missionaries went to Burma once and they wrote and told about the graves in Burma, that his grave is in this corner of the cemetery and it's got this marker on it and all that kind of stuff. So she never really knew her dad.
So what did your mom do and grandmother do to
So
live?
then the grandmother went to India to her mother, and so that's why my mother was raised in India. So at about 2 or 3 years old, she went to India, and so her mother and her grandmother were there. Let's see. But maybe the grandmother had died by then. Maybe her mother just went back where their family had come from, you know. 'Cause my mother was born in 1884, and I think her grandmother had died in 1860 or something, so I guess she didn't know her grandmother.
So how did your mom and dad meet?
Well, so then when my mother was about 19 or 20, she had an older sister who was living in Burma, and she went to help her sister with the children, because I think the sister had some disease and wasn't well, and my mother went to kind of be a nanny to her niece and nephew. And my dad, after he got his education, he went out to Rangoon, Burma as the secretary to the Chamber of Commerce.
So John was what? He went to Burma. So he was in England, was educated in England.
Yeah, he was educated in England and Germany. He did 2 years in Germany and 2 years in the University of Leipzig, Germany.
Why did he go to Germany?
I think the people in England sent their kids to the continent, because my aunt went to France to get her education, and she became a French teacher. My dad spoke German fluently. You know, he learnt German well in German.
And so what was his education in?
He was in business. And in those days it was shorthand typing, bookkeeping. And that's why he went as a secretary to the Chamber of Commerce. But I think he ended up working for the tobacco company or something there too.
So he went to
Secretary of the Chamber of Commerce in Rangoon, Burma.
secretary to who?
Secretary of the Chamber of Commerce in Rangoon, Burma.
All right. And then he met your mom.
Met my mom.
Yeah,